This is my little space. I moved in here a few years ago, and over time I've just worked on this place, making it a little bit more my own. This building used to be one of the city's like temporary office buildings, and so we got a really good deal on it. They were auctioning it off. It was just one big open space, so this was the front porch that you would come in through this door. We put that wall up, turn this all into a bathroom, put our main entrance on this end, and yeah, just changed it a little bit more and turned it into a home.
Hi friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. It's the middle of summer and many of you are busy on your vacation, spending time with your families and just doing your thing. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Jana Duggar is back, and this video that she posted about her quote unquote tiny home is, I believe, a direct response to criticism that Jim Bob Duggar has been getting that his oldest daughter, Jana, still lives at home. And these videos are being put out to try to switch the narrative to make the girls that are speaking about their sister look like they're lying. This tactic is so common when you're in a cult and with cult leaders, because they always want to try to frame things like everyone on the outside is lying about them and that we have it all wrong and his daughters have it all wrong. So what is he doing? He's having Jana put out a video which states that, one, she has her own residence, and two, it looks like she's wearing shorts and a tank top, which goes directly against what Ginger and Jill have been saying about pants and how their dad was really upset with them for wearing pants and how they had to really be very mindful about how they shared that they would be wearing pants, with Jill even getting basically shunned for wearing pants and shamed. So this video is again a response to, one, that Jana is not allowed to move out, and two, that he doesn't allow his daughters to wear pants and that he controls them. So you have to be very cognizant of when you see all of these videos. Just remember that it's kind of akin to any other cult, and what they want to do is control the narrative, okay? So Jana's video is a tour of her tiny home. I want to talk with you a little bit about this structure and why this is super problematic, and again, going to get Jim Bob in trouble yet again for illegal housing on his property. So let's dive into this topic. Jana Duggar is living in a very small converted office trailer, a trailer that is not suitable for living and is not permitted for owner occupancy living and is not zoned as an ADU. So there are zoning requirements in Tontitown, Arkansas, as well as Washington County, Arkansas, that require all buildings on a property to have proper permitting, have proper sewage, have everything zoned correctly, have all of it looked at by a building inspector to ensure that the person living there is safe. One huge aspect is fire code. Another aspect is setbacks. Another aspect is, does it have the right insulation? Does it have the right heating? Does it have the right ventilation? There's a lot that happens that goes into owner occupancy versus a work trailer. A work trailer is not conducive for living. They've converted it to a living space, but it's actually not a living structure. So it's different than a quote unquote tiny home. So Jana's home was a trailer that they purchased from an auction through the city, she said. And then they converted it by adding a bathroom and switching where the front door was from one side to another, and adding a tiny kitchenette. There's no laundry in this unit. There's no stove. There's no full refrigerator. There's like a tiny little mini fridge. There's a microwave, and then she's got a couple coffee makers, but she doesn't have a suitable kitchen where she could cook, okay? She also doesn't have the capacity or the space for pots, pans, and any of like that. She showed off her entire kitchen and there just was none of that in there. The bathroom itself is small. It has a toilet and a shower, and that's it. And the bathroom sink is in the kitchenette area. And then she has a bedroom that's off to the back with a door, and she's got a twin bed that's on like a platform, and then underneath it she does and showed off a bunch of her storage. Jana's place, while it's cute and it's nice that she has her own space, is actually located right behind her parents' house. And this is not necessarily something that she shared when she was showing this off, but according to the Eagle Web views through their ACT Data Scout, which is on the Washington County website of Arkansas, you can take a look at the aerial shots of this property and you can see that it's set back behind the house next to their basketball, volleyball court, and it's sort of next to that, and then there's her space, and then there's another trailer, which is an RV, which I believe is where Hannah and Jeremiah live right now, and then the main house. So for Jana to eat, she has to go to the main house. She can have probably snacks and easy foods in this place, but the kitchen, she would have to use her parents' kitchen. She also has no laundry in this unit, so she would have to go to her parents' house to use the laundry. Jana stated that she moved into this property a couple years ago, and her moving in actually coincided with her getting a ticket and getting cited for child endangerment related to Jana Duggar's child, Mariella. And so there could be some stipulations that she's not allowed to live in the home with those children. So Jana has some independence, but it's sort of a byproduct of what happened with her child endangerment case. The case was opened. I know online she said that it was closed right away, but she wasn't honest. That was not true, and it was ongoing. So there's a couple issues though with this specific property when you actually look at the laws in the state of Arkansas, in the county of Washington, and in the county of Tontitown. Now, I know a lot of people like to say that because the Duggars live in a rural area that they don't have to abide by zoning laws. That's 100% false. Tontitown has ordinances for living for all commercial and agricultural and residential uses. Tontitown enforces building codes, zoning codes, and all of it. Washington County has ordinances, and they also have requirements for homes. So this is not a county that has no zoning requirements. They live in Washington County, which is where Fayetteville is, and it's one of the more populous areas of Arkansas. Even though it's not in Fayetteville, they're in an area where it's relatively densely populated. Their area just happens to be in Tontitown near the landfill, okay? So Jim Bob has been doing this with his children for a very long time. For instance, he has Jason living in an illegal treehouse that's not zoned for occupancy. And at one point, he had Jana Duggar living in a commercial building that was not zoned owner occupancy. It's actually zoned as just a commercial warehouse unit. It's taxed as a commercial warehouse space. It's not listed for living. And when it comes to requirements for having a structure on the property that is not on wheels, which her tiny home is not on wheels, there are requirements for what are called additional dwelling units on the zoning of a home. So according to the Washington County zoning, a property that has more than 3 acres can have 3 separate structures, which are homes. Currently, they have 2 single-family homes. They have the single-family home that the Duggars live in, and then they have a single-family home that Joseph and Kendra live in. The unit that Jana is living in is not listed on any of the tax records for this property as an additional dwelling unit. Temporary living on properties like this is technically not allowed. And in order to have people living there, they have to get conditional use permits to have either an RV on the property or to have a tiny house. In order for her to qualify this as a tiny house, it actually has to be on a foundation. The city of Tontitown has pretty specific requirements for these. So they have to have, the ADU has to be less than it can't be less than 600 square feet of floor area and can be no more than 67% of the size of the primary residence. So it has to be a minimum of 650 square feet. I don't know if that trailer is. It has to have requirements for setbacks. It has to have a separation for fire code. It has to have a specific height. It has to have the correct parking. And then in order to get approval, they have to look at whether or not there's a deed restrictions for ADUs on their specific zoning. They also have to obtain and provide to the county that this unit will not be sold separately unless the property is split and conforms to zoning, that it is restricted to the approved size, and that the use permit for the accessory unit shall be in effect only so long as either the main residence or the accessory unit is occupied by the owner of record as the principal residence. So they had to get this, they would have had to get this approved. They also can designate someone to for the property of record to live there. The architectural features of it have to have the same character as the structure of the home and have a pitched roof, and it's similar in style to the primary house. There's also requirements within the county of Washington, and the dwelling for an ADU requires that there only be 3 total single-family homes on the property if you have more than 3 acres, which they do. Okay, so they can put this on there. They have to have it correct sewage and septic has to be installed and has to be inspected. They have to have minimum setbacks. They have proof that a water tap to accommodate the new home is available so that there is adequate space for a well on the property, for septic systems. They had to have gone through steps in order to get approval for this structure. And this is all so that they can get an occupancy permit so that it's approved to live, which means when they're talking about occupancy in the county of Washington and within Tontitown, is they want to make sure that a structure is safe for someone to live. That's their primary goal. It's not because they're jerks and they hate people. It's because they want to ensure that people are safe. So they did not get an owner occupancy for this structure. It's not listed on their property as an ADU. They're not paying taxes on it, so it's not a taxable structure either. It doesn't have a foundation. It's not on wheels. So that's like one thing, but it's on the ground. And as far as the way that it's put together, it's the septic permitting that they did hasn't been updated since they bought the house and since they installed everything and built the house back in like 2006. So they haven't changed anything with the septic, but they're adding another dwelling that's using water and making waste. That's kind of a problem. They also don't have anything for owner occupancy, meaning that because they don't have an owner occupancy for this and they don't have the permits to live there, the entire structure could be completely illegal. It could be completely outside of zoning. It could be completely unsafe for fire hazard. One issue in Arkansas when it comes to permanent structures and to ADUs, and as well as like mobile homes, is they have to have some form of central air and they have to have some form of or central heating. She doesn't have any central heating. She also doesn't have any central air. She's using little stacks that are placed on the ceiling that are electronic, and you can turn on the air and you can turn on the heat. But that's not central air or central heating. There also could be issues with insulation. So even if she has heat or air, it might not have the proper insulation to actually properly keep it cool or warm. There's a lot of problems here, and Jim Bob did something very similar with another commercial property. So he had a warehouse and he converted that into a living space where they did interviews for the show and added bedrooms and a bathroom. And that's where Josh and Anna were living. And they actually got kicked out of that space because it was an illegal structure. They had them living in a commercial unit that wasn't zoned for owner occupancy. They didn't have an owner occupancy permit. They weren't paying taxes on any upgrades that they had made to the structure. And it wasn't, because there's no permits, there's no assurance that it meets fire code standards. So Anna and the kids were actually kicked out of that, and they had to move back into the big house. Jana could have the same thing happen to her. I mean, I'm shocked that Jason isn't out of the treehouse at this point, because that's also another illegal structure. And for anyone saying that this is the country in Arkansas, I promise you that's not the case where they live. They have to follow the codes. They have to follow the rules. And they wouldn't, like, Anna got in trouble. She had to move into the big house. So I just want to say here that, like, Jana has her own space, but it's not her own home. She doesn't have her own address. She doesn't have her own mailing code. She still lives on her parents' property. It's an illegal structure that's been placed on her parents' property, that's been retrofitted to become a residence that probably isn't meeting owner occupancy requirements. So it's just not safe for her. And then they're in a high area. They're in an area where there's a lot of tornadoes. So it's just very dangerous overall. I feel sad that she doesn't realize that she can live on her own without living in a tiny little trailer outside of her parents' driveway, backyard. This is Jim Bob's solution for giving her freedom, but still making her stay in his control. Sad. And so when the sisters are talking about how Jana still lives at home, that's what they mean. She might have that tiny little structure that's on the property, but she still lives at home, and everything that she's doing is at home. She has to cook at home. She's got to eat at home. She's got to do her laundry at home. She can sleep in this space, so she gets a private area to sleep, and she has a bathroom of her own. But that bathroom might not actually be up to code. It's just very overall sad. So what are your thoughts about all of this? Are you shocked? Are you surprised? Is Jim Bob going to win the narrative? Tell me in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click on the bell so you never miss a video. Bye everyone.